Transfer deadline day has been and gone, so today I'm going to go through and grade every single Championship team's window, best to worst, you guessed it, on tier lists. Because that's original, isn't it? No one else has done that. Now, some of you may have seen that I did actually do a live reaction to the final few hours of deadline day, and I went over all the Championship clubs briefly. So today I'm going to do it a little bit more in depth, so I'm going to kind of repeat myself, but the big difference is obviously going to be giving them an official grade because it's the highest accolade you can possibly have. Some random guy on YouTube saying that you've done a good or bad job with your transfer business. If you do enjoy this video, please be sure to like and subscribe to the channel. That'd be massively appreciated as always. And let's start with Cardiff City, not in any order, but we'll start with Cardiff. Interesting window, very, very loan heavy. In fact, 5 out of 5 of these are loaned. I'm not a big fan of that. Ikpenzu didn't really work out at Borough, did it really? So he's been loaned out already. Hugo, obviously, like I say, he's already proven doubters wrong in his first match. As for players out, losing Kiefer Moore obviously isn't ideal, but he didn't want to be there, did he? And they've got nearly 4 million quid for him. And yeah, other than that, obviously losing Ryan Giles, who was on loan from Wolves, isn't ideal either. And the categories as well, by the way, not good enough. Says it all, really. You had a bit of a stinker. All right, I guess. You know, I just thought it was an elegant way of saying average. Great. You're not quite there, but you did a pretty damn good job. And class window, you got everyone that you wanted, really. You can't really look at your squad and think, I wish we signed him. We should have improved this area. But Cardiff, you know what? I know I've been bigging it up, but I think all right. Is that harsh? I don't know. Let me, by all means, have your opinion in the comments below. I think we'll go with all right. On to Birmingham City. Of course, not the best situation off the pitch with these fan protests, and obviously doing pretty mediocre in the league as per usual. But I think they've actually done some pretty good business here. 4 loan players isn't ideal, but you know it has to be done at times. Bakuna, the only permanent player in, I think that's a pretty good bit of business. Plenty of experience in the Championship and Premier League as well. Ariel Hernandez, it's a bit weird from his point of view to take a step down really from Borough on loan to Birmingham on loan, and obviously Taylor's done well for himself since he's been at Birmingham, obviously just 1 game's worth. Obviously they've had a bit of a clear out here, losing the likes of Sanchez and Harley Dean, and Cosgrove's obviously has been loaned out several times now. I think he's been a good window. Yeah, I think I'll go for great. I know I criticised Cardiff for doing a lot of loan players, but I think Birmingham have just done a little bit better. Barnsley, now it's an interesting one. There's not the best situation with the mood around Barnsley right now, unsurprisingly, but I think they kind of accepted the inevitable. You know, I don't really know anything about Bazzi, and obviously Quaker, I think is a great bit of business. Obviously from Watford, he was at Fulham the first half of the season, but he only played 2 games, so not ideal. But I mean, good signing that. They lost Sibic as well to Hearts. I think it simply has to be not good enough. Maybe it's a wise thing to do, but Barnsley have quite a bit of money, you know, and they haven't spent it. Blackpool, not really sure what to make of this, to be honest, because Beardsley's a pretty good bit of business. Looking at his stats at the very least, he's done pretty well this season for Rochdale in League 2, but that's League 2 and we're now in the Championship here with Blackpool. It's all right, isn't it? I think really, speaking from a Forest point of view, and particularly Blackpool, keeping hold of Josh Bowler is probably one of the best bits of business that they could have possibly done. And I think the fact that they didn't lose him probably has to make this quite a good window. But overall, probably all right. So on to Blackburn Rovers. I think the biggest bit of business that they've done really is keeping hold of Brereton Diaz. You know, I think he could have easily have gone this window, and he hasn't, and I think that's fantastic for them, and it's huge for their promotion hopes. And also Rothwell in midfield as well, obviously he's been great this season for Blackburn. As for the players they have actually signed, Ryan Giles, obviously I mentioned him earlier with Cardiff, bit of an upgrade for him of course. Hedges, I'm a pretty big fan of that signing. He's been at Aberdeen for quite a few years and been one of their best players for a long time as well. Players out, they haven't really lost anyone major, have they? So yeah, I think it has to be a really good window, and Blackburn are giving themselves every chance of maybe, and it'll be a huge achievement, maybe they could even get the top 2 the way they're going if Brereton can keep this form up. On to Preston. I do think this has been a fairly average window really, only 2 players in. it's a classic window of a mid-table championship club, really. I think Cameron Archer is a good bit of business. Played a handful of times in the Premier League this season for them as well, on loan, of course. Diaby coming back from that ban, he'll add a bit of depth at centre-back for them. They've loaned out quite a few players. Obviously got rid of Connor Wickham, who was obviously short-lived at Preston. I think the summer is where you're going to see a bit more activity with Preston. So, yeah, all right, really. I think that's about fair. Bristol City, there's not really much I can say about it. They've signed Tim Closer. Obviously, he was a free agent, was in Norwich for quite a number of years for a free transfer. Obviously, Bakinson has gone on loan to Ipswich in League One, but I can't help but feel like they should have done a bit more. Senna having quite a poor year again. The definition of inconsistent. I feel like if they wanted to really push on and have a good second half of the season, you could argue a case they should have done more. So, he's not good enough. Harsh, I'm not sure. Maybe all right, but okay, we'll be polite. We'll go all right. That maybe you decide in the comments below. Fulham, they've only signed one player, but I mean they didn't really need to sign anyone, did they? And that one player, massive fan of Nico Williams. He's brilliant. He is. Whenever I've seen him play for Wales, because obviously he doesn't really get a look in for Liverpool, hence why he's been loaned out. I think he's a really, really top talent, and obviously on loan. Obviously they've lost a few players as well. Christie, obviously we know about him from last season at Forest. He's done well for Swansea. Sessegnon's gone on loan. Obviously he's never really been consistently in the team. And Dennis Adoy, I think it's about time that he moved on as well. I mean, they've only signed one player, so I can't really put him in class. I don't personally think that's right. So we'll go with great. I mean, they don't really need to sign anyone, do they? Like, you know, I think as well, one more thing you have to mention about Fulham. They kept hold of Fabio Carvalho. You know, that last ditch bid from Liverpool looked like it was going to happen, so keeping hold of him as well is massive for them. Hull City, of course, under brand new ownership, brand new manager as well, which is a bit of an interesting subject, but he's obviously got to a winning start against Swansea at the weekend. Longman on a permanent transfer is huge intent for Hull City, obviously being quite a big name, linked with many championship clubs for the last several years, to be honest. Slater's permanently joined Force. Is it Force? Apologies if I'm saying that wrong. It has to be class. Like, you know, I think the future is really bright for Hull with this new ownership. Can they maybe push for the playoffs in the future or get on to have a better second half of the season? I think they will, because they've already been showing that, haven't they, for the last couple of months now. Now, one team that definitely didn't have a good transfer window was Peterborough. Now, that may be a bit harsh. That might be a bit harsh because they have actually done quite a bit. You know, how many players is that? That's Mass David.
A few moments later.
8 players. I knew that. 8 players. Yeah. You don't look at any of that apart from maybe Mumba from Norwich and you think, wow. The quality isn't there for me to see that team stay in the Championship. And again, that might be harsh, but then when you realise they sold this guy, that's self-destruct. That's self-destruct. He was their only real hope. And they've got obviously the likes of Johnson Clark Harris as well, but I'm sorry, losing Dembele, it just feels like the nail in the coffin to me. Reading. Bray's going to have a field day right now. It's been a poor window, really, hasn't it? It basically sums up Reading in general, just really concerning. And to be fair to them, of course, they've had transfer money issues recently. But again, Tom Ince, it just feels like, particularly from his point of view, a career waster going round in circles. We've seen it many times with Tom Ince before. Andy Carroll's incredibly long stint at Reading coming to an end. Jules Puskas, you know, I don't really know why they've sold both of them. Losing one of their best players, Liam Moore. It's been a bit of a stinker, really, hasn't it? I think it has to be not good enough. So as I just mentioned, Stoke City, Phil Jagielka, of course, coming in from Derby. Obviously 39, but he'll offer more than enough experience at the back. They really have gone hard when it comes to centre-backs, haven't they? Liam Moore and Harwood Bellis. Harwood Bellis, of course, was at Blackburn last season, and like I just mentioned before, at Reading. They've done some good business there. You know, you can't really criticise it. And of course, Josh Maja, player that my team Forest are very heavily linked with, of course, this season, in fact. Obviously, we ended up getting Sturridge right here, which I'll mention in just a moment. Got rid of Danny Bath and Davis as well, and Tom Ince, like I just mentioned. So, yeah, been busy, and it's been a good window. I'm not going to say class, but I think great at the very least. Now, based off talent and the money that this club has, you would think that this team would be nailed on to get playoffs, but the way they're playing on the pitch, certainly not a foregone conclusion, that being West Bromwich Albion, and the transfer activity kind of sums it up. And then again, it didn't really need to go that mental because, like I just said, the squad is more than good enough. It's just not working for Ishmael, is it? Obviously signing one of his old mates from Barnsley. Well, it's not terrible, but just all right. However, this team certainly did not have a bad window, that being AFC Bournemouth. Please explain to me how you have the audacity to sign 5 amazing signings as well. 5 players on deadline day. Kiefer Moore, I mean, that's incredibly championship signing, really, isn't it? But good signing at that. Needed another striker behind, obviously, Solanke, and I think that's a good option. I don't know much about Hill, I won't lie. But of course, just mentioned Svicky Dembele. What I don't understand, Dembele and Cantwell, they already had, you know... In fact, I need to actually check who they have in their winger department. Because obviously they lost Morgan Rogers. They did need to replace him. But you look here. Okay, that's not the right segment. This is more like it. You look here. They've got Anthony already. Stanislas, I know he's getting on a bit. Brooks, I know he's not playing right now. But Lowe. They've got Ryan Christie as well in there as well. And Robbie Brady. So I don't really know why they needed Cantwell and Dembele. It has to be classed. I mean, they should be getting top 2, 100%. Coventry City, only one signing, that being Jake Bidwell, which really caught me off guard when I saw that happen. I did not expect to see that. Brilliant player. Obviously, was with Swansea the last few seasons, in fact, in playoff campaigns. So to get someone of his ability is brilliant. And I know he's 28, but still got more than enough room left in him. Yeah, it's been a bit of a quiet window. I think a bit like with Blackburn, not losing Brereton. They kept hold of players like O'Hare, Gyökeres. I need to learn how to say his name properly. Even players like Gustavo Hamo as well. So I think really with Coventry, it's more of a case of they've kept hold of what they already had. So I think not great, just all right. Okay, you know what? I'm going to go back a little bit. I've just been thinking. I think Cardiff should be in great. You know, given where they are in the league, they've done some good business. It may be loans, but I think... great. I also, what really made me think that, I didn't want to overload all right. You know, let's be a bit fair. Derby. Is there any point in me showing you? Because, I mean, they can't do anything, can they? I mean, that's not a new signing. They just sold him and just loaned him straight back. It's going to happen. You know, it's going to happen with their situation. You know, Jagielka going for nothing, obviously, was always going to happen. Shinny. Honestly, that's mental. 30 grand. 30 grand, that is a player's wages that they've sold one of their star players. It's difficult. Maybe, you know what? And this isn't, for once, I'm not even trying to wind Derby fans up. You know, for once, I'm not even trying to do that. You can't put them in not good enough because they physically and literally cannot sign players, can they? So they have to be in their own category, you know. So this isn't even me winding Derby up for once. I mean... I do that more than enough. Huddersfield Town, done some good business. Blackman, of course, plenty of experience. Now, I've written his name down so I'll say it properly. Tino Andrim, coming from Chelsea on loan. Heard a lot of big things about this guy. Obviously, one of the many thousands of players that Chelsea loan out. But it should be a good bit of business for Huddersfield Town. Obviously, coming in to hopefully strengthen their attack. I think, let's have a look at outgoings as well, of course. Nothing too major, obviously all those being on loan. So I think Huddersfield, I think great. I don't think class is fair, but I think great is about right. Luton Town, very quiet window. Jed Steer, it's safe pair of hands, isn't it? You know, goalkeeper cliche, but great player. Obviously, that he's just replacing Simon Sluga. He's been around for a while at Luton. Always been a bit of a... he's a bit of an error in him, hasn't he, really? He's not a bad goalkeeper, but I remember a game against Forest a few years ago, he was having a bit of a howler. So yeah, it's nothing spectacular, really. So I think just all right for Luton, but they're not having a bad season, are they? So I don't think they'll be too disappointed with that. But this has been a fantastic window here at Middlesbrough. Riley Mcgree, obviously a player that I forgot to mention him when I spoke about Birmingham. Obviously a player that they've lost. He was on loan there initially from Charlotte FC. 3 million is a great bit of business. 23 years old for the Australian midfielder, who's obviously a great player at this level. Aaron Connolly and Balogun, they've really gone all in when it comes to strengthening their strikers. Obviously, losing Ikpenzu to Cardiff, that makes sense as to why they've gone and got those two players out. They've really gone all out, haven't they? Losing Hernandez is a shame for them, and obviously Brownie's gone to Oxford. But yeah, great. Honestly, I think I might put him in class. Can't really complain. They've done a really good job. They're in a really good position now with Wilder. I don't think Borough fans will be too upset with that. Millwall. Add Luke Freeman to that as well, because he's not on there. Trust me, I know Luke Freeman is the definition of bang average. Literally, there's a signing Forest casts off. Oliver Burke was great for Forest. He's been an absolute waste of time wherever he's gone since. Luke Freeman. Oh, God. Matt Smith to Salford. I know he's 32, but he was more than good enough at this level, surely. I mean, whenever he played against us, he used to love scoring against us. Get in, not good enough. I mean, honestly, I'm tempted to put them in Derby. Like, that, Christ, that's terrible. Nottingham Forest, I've mentioned this way too much throughout the video, like I said I wouldn't do, but apologies for that. Actually, no, I won't apologise, because it's my team. Richie Larea, haven't really seen him play, of course, so he can't really comment, but he can play on both sides, a full-back. Sam Surridge, he's got a poor record, he's going to be terrible. Why have we signed him with Sedikin and Davis? He's been pretty good, hasn't he? Steve Cook. What a player. What a player. Let's talk about Swansea. Obviously, dramatic decline the last several months, but Hansa Wolf, mate, that lad was a wonder kid on FIFA a few years ago. You know, he was with Leipzig, obviously with MK Dons, Borussia Mönchengladbach. How can you get the two mixed up? Seriously. Obviously, Bidwell going. Brandon Cooper's a bit of a surprising one to see him go to League Two. It's been an alright window, hasn't it? You know, I mean, yeah, we'll go alright with that one. Queen's Park Rangers, Jeff Hendrick is the one that jumps out to me there. Obviously, he's a bit of a meme at Newcastle, but I think at this level in the Championship, it's probably about right. David Marshall, you know, he's played for every club in the world, really, hasn't he? Safe pair of hands, though. So I think QPR, I think we'll go great. Can't really complain. They're in a great position already. I think as well, again, a situation a bit like with Blackburn and a bit like with Fulham. They've kept hold of players like Willock, Chair, you know, even Rob Dickey, you know, players like that. So I think it's more of a case of good that we've kept hold of our main players. The last one, of course, Sheffield United. How the mighty's fallen, really, since some their Premier League days. It's nothing bad, is it? It's not bad, but it doesn't really strike fear into me, does it? And obviously they lost Martin Olsen, or Robin Olsen, who was on loan. So they've got Davison from Stoke for an undisclosed fee. Charlie Good, that's more than good enough to help out defensively as well. Musa is one of the, honestly, contender for one of the strangest transfers of the entire window. I'm going to go alright, a bit overloaded in the middle, but I think that's about fair, really. I'm sure there'll be some people that's disagreed with me. Maybe West Brom could be in grey, because I know they've only signed 2 players, but they didn't really need to sign that many. West Brom's issue is their management, not their players. So yeah, you know what? We'll put West Brom there. I think that evens it out a little bit. So that is my grading of every Championship club's transfer window. If you have enjoyed it, then please hit the like button on the video and subscribe to the channel if you're new. Been great support recently, so let's keep it up. Let's get 3K as soon as possible. Can we get 3K before the end of the season? I think we can do it. Help me out if you're new. So yeah, I'll see you very soon for another video. Thanks for watching.